How are y'all doing?
What's going on?
Hey, welcome to Heart Talks, Tuesday Heart Talks, 6:30 with Renee and Glenn. Thank you everybody for joining us. You know we always love your support. Listen, it has been, huh? What were you gonna say? I was gonna say, I am so excited and emotional about what has transpired in the last week with Heart Work Leadership. Y'all, we've got some exciting stuff, but that's for another time. Tonight's topic is about getting emotional at work. We're going to talk about some of the myths and what people believe about work and separating work from who you are and work from home. We're going to talk about bringing purpose and finding purpose in what you've chosen in this universe to do as a service. That's what work is. It's what you've chosen to do to serve the people around you in the communities as service. And just being emotional about it, purpose, love, joy. Y'all know what we're talking about every single day. Gratitude, for where you are and walking into your jobs every single day. Getting emotional about the work that you're going to do in that moment, in that time, and what impact you're going to make on the people around you. Glenn,
Yeah,
what's up? We're talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
emotional at work.
yeah. I
People
want,
say
I
that's not right.
want, yeah, I want people to get more emotional about work. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want us to get emotional about work. And I know this whole like, oh man, we don't want emotional folks at work. We don't want folks getting emotional at work. We don't need that. Like, we don't need that. That's crazy talk. When people get emotional. I want to first set some standards. The first standard is I want us to agree that the term "you are too emotional" needs to be we need to just squash that term. You
Wow.
are too emotional.
Mm.
Um, and I mean it for everybody. Well, I want adults to squash it towards adults. I want adults to definitely squash it towards kids.
Ooh.
Um, I want us to squash the term "you are too emotional." Let me tell you something.
Yes. Who said that? Abolish that statement.
Let me say something to you about being too emotional. The idea and the term itself actually is a fear-based comment. We're gonna teach today. It's a
Ooh.
fear-based comment. When someone says to another person, "You are too emotional."
Gaslighting.
Translation: what they're saying is, I am not equipped
Mm.
to deal with what you got to say and feel.
Mm.
That's what it is. So let's first go ahead and agree we're going to squash this term, because what it's saying is we're not equipped. What I'm saying is we should be equipped. And if we aren't equipped, we need to get equipped to be able to deal with human emotion and what people feel and how they translate their feelings into language. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, disclaimer already had. We ready to rock and roll. So,
Right.
look, I think the basis of this conversation really is about if we can affirm the disclaimer about not telling people that they're too emotional, we will understand that studies upon studies upon studies upon studies have shown that when people, one, come to work feeling safe in their emotions, and then being inspired and empowered to exhibit emotion connected to whatever they're doing at work, businesses actually succeed at a 60% clip, greater than anything anyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
60% the quartile of businesses, the 60% quartile in the greater quartile at least, 60% of those business in the greater quartile, and that's highest quartile of business success, actually drive home connecting emotion to work and people bringing emotion into work, meaning, hey, we want people feeling here. We don't want people numbing themselves once they clock in, once they check in to work. The clear disconnect between emotion and business outcomes should be kind of practical and pretty simple. If somebody turns off their feelings, a human being, how effective are they really?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't isn't what isn't what is this distinguishes the human being from every other creature in the world? Our ability to discern, our ability to feel, to
Mm-hmm.
exhibit emotion, right? To have gut instincts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that the distinguishing quality?
Yep.
And if you're asking employees, don't come in here with emotion, don't come in here with lived experiences, don't come in here with trauma, don't come in here with all that. I want you to come in with your skills only and go to work.
Right.
Come on now.
I know.
Come on now. Got to be joking me. It doesn't work that
Right.
way. Never has, never will.
Never.
And that's the basis and the premise of, we need to get more emotional at work.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get more emotional at work. Period.
Period. And when people feel psychologically safe, when they feel like they can come with their best, with their emotion, when they feel like they can come with all of who they are,
Yeah.
then that's when they feel the most creative. That's when they feel the most innovative. And that's what we want people to do. We want people to bring that thing that made us want to hire them. We want them to bring that thing with them every single day, because that is what you felt when you hired them. That's what you felt was going to make your company successful. That is what made them feel, that's what made them realize, made you realize that they were going to be a success. If your people are coming to work emotionless, then that's when I think that we need to check the dynamic of the culture, and start looking at what type of things, what type of culture do we have where people don't feel safe to feel while they are at work. So, Glenn, let's talk a little bit some of the about some of the facts. So we talked about a little bit about the myths. Let's talk about some of the myths that people have about why we shouldn't come to work with emotion. What do you think? Like, I heard you say, like, you talk about, not people being afraid to deal, or not being equipped to deal with those emotions. But let's dig deeper into that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there are a myriad of myths, and listen, I've lived some of those myths. Bring
Mhm.
emotion to work, and business will go out the window because everybody will be crying and hugging and
Saying I love you. Oh
and,
my
em-
Lord.
and
What we do?
emoting. Everybody will be emoting, and it'll be like a Oprah Winfrey show at work, right?
Right, right.
And shout out to Oprah. That's my favorite. Super Bowl Sundays. Just shout out to
She's
Oprah.
going to hear you one Tuesday
Oh,
night. She is going to
listen,
hear it. I'm
I'm
telling
gonna
you,
hear it
it's
one
going to
day.
be us.
Super Soul Sundays. I'm claiming it. But
Yeah.
listen, the myth is that when we bring emotion into our workplaces, that work will fail because business will become secondary and emotional people will become primary. Let me tell you something.
Hmm.
The reality is that if we focus on emotions, our businesses will actually grow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna repeat that. If you focus on people's emotions,
Mm-hmm.
you will be able to focus on business more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not the other way around. Not if you focus on business or emotions, businesses will fail. No. Listen, those who understand human behavior understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses are run by one thing:
Mm-hmm.
human behavior. Not even only the human behavior of an employee, but the human behavior of a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
Jim said that. Mm-hmm.
every business in this world that exists on one premise alone. I don't care what you do, what you sell, what you deliver, what you make, what you create, doesn't matter. Every business in this world is built off of one premise: the behavior of human beings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it. So, if a business is built off the premise of a behavior of human beings, and let's just go customer based first, based off of customers' behavior, customers' emotions, customers' responses and reactions. If it's built off of that, then why then would you not double triple down on the emotions and behaviors of the people that are creating whatever service or product to respond to the customer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
The response to yes.
What are we doing here?
Right.
Like you you want to respond to the customer's behavior and emotions through excluding and diluting the emotions and behavior of the employee,
Yes.
of the person that's creating the widget.
Yes.
Come on now, that
Yes.
doesn't make sense, does it?
Nope. It doesn't. It doesn't. And if you think about it, Glenn, if you think about it, let's talk about the customer for a minute. When people have emotion, they yearn for connection.
Mhm.
They yearn for relationship. They want to be accountable.
Yeah,
Think about when every things that you have emotion about, Glenn. Think about it. The things that you have emotion about, you feel accountable for them, don't you? You
yeah.
feel accountable for making sure that they're successful. You feel accountable for making a connection to making sure that they're happy. So if I feel accountable for your happiness while I'm serving you, I'm going to need emotion to do that. If I'm emotionless, if I come to work and I don't have emotion, then that means that I could care less whether you're happy or not. I'm there to do my job. But if I come to work with emotion, then I want you. I feel accountable for you. I feel connected to you. I feel compassion for you. I feel like whatever you came here for, I want to try my best to serve you to that capacity.
Let me tell you something. I'm glad you just said that. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. So
Mm-hmm.
I write about it in Hard Work. Look, I was the leader who did not want to deal with people's emotions. All
Really?
right. I was the guy. I was like, listen, we come here to work. You know, whatever you got going on before you get here, like, you gotta handle that. When you
But
handle it outside,
what's
right?
the statement? It says put it, stop, like leave it at the door. Isn't
Leave it
that
at
it?
the door. I was
Mm-hmm.
that person.
Mm.
But let me tell you what I realized in corporate America, in a retail environment. What I realized very quickly was that people don't leave their problems at the door.
Mm-mm.
Every human being walks into work with every single problem that they have.
Mm-hmm.
It's right under their arm, it's in tow.
Oh yeah, you can't leave it at the door.
They don't leave it at work. What I quickly realized is that the 200 people that worked in my building, every single day, they brought every single issue. They brought bills, they brought family issues, they brought traumas, they brought they brought they brought all the things that you would never imagine that people they brought it to work every single day. And though
Mm.
they may have in their greatest attempts tried to disconnect from those things while they served our guests,
Mm-hmm.
they you couldn't fully disconnect.
Mm-mm.
So what I quickly realized was one thing. What I realized was that my job was not to make sure that the business was profitable. My job was to make sure that each and every team member felt safe,
Mm-hmm.
felt loved,
Mm-hmm.
felt cared for,
Mm-hmm.
felt valued,
Value.
felt listened to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was my job. And I'm gonna tell you something, Renee. When I realized that my job was that as opposed to driving business profitability,
Mm-hmm.
I got shook.
Mm. So when did you realize that? Like, at what step in all of this process did you realize that this was actually key to the success of what you needed to have done, the key to your success?
Well, I realized it was just a moment, honestly. I think I was going through the transformation in my mind anyway. I talk about it. I was having a kid. I was realizing that I didn't have as much control as I thought I did over things.
Mm-hmm.
But it really soon it landed on me when I realized in the retail environment there's so many moving pieces. You really can't control business profitability.
Mm-mm.
Like you can't control that. People gonna buy, they're gonna come, they're gonna leave. You don't work every shift,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm not there all day,
Right.
right? So it dawns on you, okay, well, what do you have influence over? Like what's your influence is the tone, it's the temperature, culture.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm.
had influence on the temperature.
Right.
And when I realized it was the temperature that I had influence on, I realized then that's the big lift. It shook me because I had never thought about the temperature.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought about the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens for so many leaders is when we have this conversation, when we have this conversation about shifting from outcomes based leadership to emotional, safe, love based
Yes.
leadership, we get shook because what we're really saying is we're not saying that we don't believe in it. What we're
Mm-hmm.
saying is that we know it's a heavier lift.
It is a heavier lift. Yeah.
What we're saying is it's more uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying is they didn't teach us that in
Mm-hmm.
grad school.
Mm-hmm.
what we're what we're saying is, and I'm about to hit some folks in the
Oh
gut.
boy. Oh, wait a minute. Is this an alert?
This is alert. Hurt feelings alert.
Hurt feelings alert.
What we're saying is we're gonna have to start dealing with our own stuff.
Ooh.
All right, you
Well,
better,
and see, and there you go.
you better,
And there you go.
you better,
Drop
you
the
better.
mic. Hard
Listen,
talk is over.
look, that's
Hard
what we're
talk over.
saying. That's what we're saying. We're saying that we're not ready for that if we have when we've not done that ourselves, when we haven't done that level of work. And I
Mm-hmm.
say to a leader, it's not about the business outcomes, it's about what's happening within the people's hearts and minds that you are leading. That
Mm-hmm.
means that means consequently you then have to become a part of that transformation.
Oh
That's when
yeah,
it
when
becomes
you
real.
realize that everybody's being vulnerable around you, you're not uncomfortable with their vulnerability. You're uncomfortable that you may have to be a vulnerable yourself. It's about
Yeah.
you and what part do I play in this? And I'm the leader, and I have to get control of this because the next thing you know, they want me to share.
Yeah, listen. Look, you've been in the room with us with clients, and you know when you first started, and you were like, "Whoa, like what's going on in here?" Like it's
Mm-hmm.
it's like a therapy fest up in here. And I mean, though we're not therapists, we don't. That's not what we do.
No, we're not.
What we recognize is again is that leadership is hard, not because we gotta make people do stuff that they don't want to do. No, that's not why it should be hard.
Mm-hmm.
If you're defining leadership by being difficult because of the people that you have to make them get on board with stuff, and it's difficult for them to get on board, that's a fictitious reason. Actually, the reason
Right.
why leadership is difficult
You better
inherently,
say it. Say it.
it's inherently is because we have to one, take the we have to take the selfishness and start getting selfless, and we have to start not thinking less of ourselves but thinking less of self, okay, and more of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And most leaders
Mm-hmm.
when they're hired are not giving the talk. They're not giving this talk. They're not giving the talk. I'm going to need you as a leader to think less of self and more of them.
Well, but the person that hired them wouldn't know how to give that talk, right? Because this is a systematic. This is a system. What that piece of the culture is actually systematic.
It is systematic, and it's systemic as
Systemic.
well, right? And
Systemic.
so
Yes.
and I think the discomfort about it is understandable, but we must understand is leading with emotion, working with emotion is natural.
Yes.
And what we're doing is we're basically, when people say, we say it's not hard work, it's hard work, right?
Right.
When people say, man, man, leading is difficult, leading folks is difficult, and just, you got personalities, and I'm like, well, that's the job actually. I had somebody, I
Right.
had sort of I had somebody close to me, really close to me, come to me and say, I didn't realize what my job was as a leader is until I started realizing the actual consistency of what I was doing as a leader. Meaning, they thought the job was one thing, and then over a period of time, they realized every single day. I asked them, I said, put percentages on what you do every day. And they say, really what my job is to empower, inspire, empower, and listen and feel and care for my team. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. Leaders typically think their job is one thing, and the job is a whole nother thing. The job of a leader is to create a place where emotion can live and breathe and thrive. And the reason why is because the natural, inherent, organic way we exist and do our best work is through emotion.
Is through emotion. And it is where it, and I'm just going to say this. First thing I want to say is, and the reason that leadership is difficult for some people is because of what you said in the beginning of all of this, which is it's because they're uncomfortable with dealing with the emotion of people, and you can't separate the two. People they have, it is who they are. It makes up their character, it makes up their personality. When you hire them, it is the thing, their emotion is what caused you to hire them one way or another, or not hire them. It is who they are. They can't separate from that. And part of the reason that we we don't understand um how to put together, or how to, let's talk about teams for a minute, how to build teams. Imagine leading teams, small teams, or leading teams, and having to deal with all the emotion of those people all at one time. Have we ever stopped to think, Glenn, that if we dealt with the emotion of people as they, without asking them to suppress, as they come to us, as they ask us for support, as they ask us, wouldn't it actually make our jobs a lot easier?
Yeah, I think 100%. And we got a lot of comments. I appreciate everybody. Mama Diggins,
Oh,
Jim's
somebody said, what
on.
if they are too emotional?
Yeah, a couple of folks. I think that might be Naj or Jessica. Appreciate you. Jam is on. Jamila's on. And so I'm gonna answer.
Hey,
So
mom.
this question, everybody's been making some great comments, but this is a question right here. What if they're too emotional? And this is the thing. I think this is one of the fears
That's a
of
very good question.
yeah. This is one of the fears of well, emotion is good, but what about being too emotional?
But how do we define
But
that first?
I think right. So one, I think it's a great question. I think
Mm-hmm.
though one we got to say that too emotional is relative. It's going to be relative. So everybody's going to
Mm-hmm.
define too emotional in different ways. That being the case, I want to phrase this in a way that people can get in their around their minds. If you're a leader and you take on the responsibility of leading people, there will come a time where you will feel if you're creating a safe space, there will come a time where you will feel somebody is being too emotional. Now, that's your definition,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of too emotional.
So it's relative, yeah.
My question is back to the person who asked the question, if that's Jess or Naj, might be Jess,
Is it? Okay.
is what if they are too emotional? My question is, okay, what if they are? I don't, what, my question back would be, what if they are? So she says, too emotional means we have experienced regular and not enough emanation. It's like saying it's too hot or too cold. I need a base to go from. I get you. My question though is then, what if they are in your receiving of their emotions? If they are too emotional to you,
Right, because that's relative. Right.
right? As a leader, because it's not going to be the same for everybody. If they're too emotional from you, then what? Then do you feel is the next response if they're
Mm-hmm.
too emotional? Because remember, too emotional on any given day can be normal on another day.
Yes.
Too emotional on any given day for you could be normal for another person. Too emotional for you could be normal for the person who's emoting. So my question, always is, what does it mean for you? So meet people where they are with their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm going. What I'm saying is, if you choose to be a leader, okay, not if somebody hires you and you take the job, you still made a choice. If you choose to lead people, we must know that people are going to get emotional. The question is, what type of environment are you creating so
Mm-hmm.
that when they do get emotional, you don't tell them that they're too emotional?
But may I make a statement, or not a statement, or ask you a question, Glenn, rather?
Sure.
Well, when we say that a person is too emotional, that's normally, like you said not too long ago, measured by our level of comfortability. Shouldn't we then be asking ourselves, why is their level of emotion, no matter what it is, why is this level of emotion actually making me feel uncomfortable?
Well, look, I think that's a good question. Now, mind you, I don't think
Mhm.
it's a referendum on you. Like,
No, no,
no,
no. Just
no.
just the self-reflection on why is this making me uncomfortable?
So, look, I think that I think that there are always going to be instances, more than likely, if you're in this position of leading people, where
Mhm.
somebody might get emotional to the floor. You're like, man, I feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And I think it's a fair question. I think one is a fair
No,
feeling.
it's a fair question,
It's a
right.
fair feeling to feel that way, but it's also a fair question then, and I think a needed question to
Mhm.
say, why am I uncomfortable with that
Right.
emotion,
That's
right?
what I'm saying. Like, why is this
Right.
making me uncomfortable? Right.
Now, I'm gonna give a great example. These are some great. Those are some great questions, and I'm glad somebody asked it because we're gonna have to ask it because the too emotional thing always comes up.
Always.
So I was in a role where I had somebody who I supervised who always cried when we had our one-on-one meetings. Always.
How do you handle that?
Always. Always. And if somebody's out there and you are the person that receives this, like you in my shoes where there's somebody that's always crying, or if you're the person that always cries, please don't turn. Listen to this.
Yes.
Listen to this story. This is real on both parts.
Okay.
So she would always cry. And it made me uncomfortable because I didn't know what was going on. I would say, I would, from one meeting to the next, I would say, okay, this meeting, I'm going to really like inspire, lift her up and, and praise her and give her comfort. Like, I think that she just wants me to be more comforting, but it didn't matter. It always ended in tears. Some kind of way it ended in tears. And I felt like, what in the heck is going on? And has opportunity to be listened to. But good point. And so after a while, I took her to lunch. And I said, look.
That's a good point. Yeah. I'm reading it.
I took her to lunch and I said, look, I don't know what the crying is about. I don't want to diminish your feelings and your emotions, but I just want to clear the table right now and give you carte blanche. You can say whatever you want to say. There is no backlash. I'm not writing this down. This is not going to be this is not a coaching session, nothing. I just want you to feel safe enough to say what you feel.
Jim says he's that way.
Yep.
So what did she do?
She said, I just don't like you.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
I want people to understand something.
Oh, wow. And that's all right,
We talk about this a lot. We've said this a lot on our Facebook Lives, on our live streams, now on LinkedIn, YouTube, what have you. We say this a lot. When people are feeling emotion, I always say this. I'm going to repeat it right now. When people are feeling emotion, that's not about you. That's about them. She said, I don't like you. She didn't say you made me not like you. She didn't say you did something to me to not like you. She didn't say that. She said, I just don't like
you. Wow.
I said, praise God. Because that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
What I'm saying to everyone is, in that moment, I was like, well, goodness gracious. I'm glad she's at least being honest about her emotions.
Right.
She just she didn't want to be there anymore.
Wow.
And she didn't know me. So that's another story. But she didn't like me because she didn't want to be there anymore. It wasn't about me. So when we say, people getting super emotional on the job and we've got to understand, even when it's about you, it ain't about you. Okay.
Right.
And I want us to really grab a hold of the fact that when we exhibit emotion, that's coming. Jim just said, when his heart fills up, his eyes overflow. I'm an emotional person. When I'm about to cry, I give a good cry. But we have to know that that's about the person that's emoting.
Yes.
That's about that person. And to get back to, working with emotion, we want leaders. So she said, emotion is not about the person who's receiving that feeling. I can recognize.
Yeah, this is whoever is giving these. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, whoever's giving this. Thank you.
So that's great, a great point. So we got to realize that as leaders, we have to be able to walk into a space of understanding that you may not want emotion in your workplace, but it's all up in your workplace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you, well, we don't do that here. We don't have those type of conversations here. Well, let me tell you something. You may not have the conversation, but it's being had
Oh,
one
it's
way or
that.
another. Or one way or another. It's being had in the hearts of people. It's being had in the psyche of people. It's being
Mm-hmm.
had in the productivity of people.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional conversations are being had every single minute, every single second of the day. The question
Mm-hmm.
is, are you involved and are you being requested to be an active participant? That's
Right.
the question. That's the
Right.
question. Because if you aren't being asked to be an active participant and you aren't involved as a leader, that means you don't have the connection to your team.
Right.
And if you don't have the connection to your team, you're not being a productive leader, an
Leader.
effective leader. You're not
No.
driving business outcomes. Your job as a leader is to inspire people to be
No.
able to
That
come to work.
right. That means you're managing.
Yeah.
You're not leading. That means that you're just overseeing everybody.
But
Um,
my
Morris,
dude.
how are you?
What's up, bro?
Love you too. Yeah, like that just means that you are managing your team. And that's another thing. Like, I think people need to be aware that managing is not leading. You know, management is a part of leadership, it is a part of the job, but you're not leading if you're just there overseeing to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's managing, and it's not being a leader.
So that job I had where I realized like love was going to win out, that
Mm-hmm.
I realized what my job of a leader was. We became a top
Mm-hmm.
store in the company. All of our leaders in our building basically received promotions and raises. We were a top store in the group. And people say, "Well, you may have been that anyway." I said, "Well, listen. Sometimes your job is just a whole serve." You ain't heard me. Y'all ain't hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. Sometime as a leader, your job is just to hold serve. What does that mean? That means that sometimes you're just dealt a good hand, and your job is not to mess it up.
Right, 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 right.
Look, look, and so many leaders don't want to hold serve. There's so many people, we want to mess it up. We want to jump in and play around and do this. And all you have to do is show up, love on your people, listen to your folks, give them what they need, and move out the way.
And they will produce for you when you show them
Yeah.
that you appreciate them, when you show that you're grateful for who they are, when you show them that you love them, when you show them, when you help them to find their purpose and you put them in places or positions that were where they feel successful. That's when, yeah, you're going to continue to get the best work out of your people. You're going to continue to thrive as a company. Yeah, treat them like they're human beings. Allow them to come and share who they are and a part of who they are, and let them come authentic to their work environment. And you can't lose. You cannot lose because people will produce. It is a win-win situation.
Listen, and I'll tell you this, and this is no dig. I mean, I put my business on Front Street. When I was growing up, bless my mom. Our parents did. Our parents do the best they can, even in situations where we don't
Yes,
agree
mama.
with what they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, listen, rock star. I am because she is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this: she grew up with that. Hey, you too emotional. You can't let them see you like that, friend. You can't let them see you cry. And I will say, there are places where too much emotion will bring pause to people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not talk around it now.
But you didn't say it was wrong. You said it would bring pause.
Not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it will
It
bring
would bring
pause. And
pause.
we
Yeah.
must understand we must understand. Listen, there's being yourself, your authentic self. And then there's wanting everyone to receive your authentic self in its purest fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Both will not be true.
Right.
Both will not be true.
Right.
Should you live your authentic self if everyone in the world won't receive it as you would want them to? Well, that's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But understand this. If you understand that every action there is a
reaction.
And that's true in all senses and forms of the word. So that being said, my mom used to tell me, you're too emotional. Stop being so emotional. Right? I remember it was embedded in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, demonstrating emotion growing up was a thing of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when all you have to pull on is strength, you will look at emotion as weakness because you're like, we gotta make it work. We don't have time for that crying and feeling and stuff, right?
Right.
But I said that to say this. If you don't take anything from tonight as a leader, as somebody whose job is to care for others.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't take anything from anything that we've said tonight, other than this, is that when we say you are too emotional,
mm-hmm.
we, one, are working in fear, and two, we are literally exhibiting the antithetical of what leadership really is about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Leadership is all about emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership is all about passion. Leadership is all about love. Leadership is all about failure. Leadership is all about the struggle and the valley. Leadership is all about the good times and the bad times. It's all emotions. It's about sadness. It's about everything. Leadership encompasses every single emotion that you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And if for some reason we feel empowered to want people to be numb to emotion,
in our presence,
then we have to stop and ask ourselves, are we built for being a leader? Are we made for this?
Mm-hmm.
We've got to bring emotion back to work.
Yes.
And we have to understand that if you're struggling as a leader with emotion at work, I bet you a whole lot of coin that your business is struggling too. People don't go above and beyond because you pay them more. People don't go above and beyond because you give them free lunch. People don't go above and beyond because you got the ping pong table or wild out or wild out Wednesdays. People go above and beyond because they feel safe and they are emotionally connected to you or in what you do and the people that you serve. They are emotionally invested in some kind of way where they feel as though they can emote, they can bring their true selves to work, and that they will be supported and lifted and cared for and loved on. And if you don't believe it, look at any business that has any form of success. And when people, and ask the one question, when people leave, ask them just the one question: would you come back? Ask people, don't ask them, do you like working here? Don't ask them, do they pay well? Don't ask them, do they have benefits? No.
Would you come back?
Ask them, would you come back? Look, I'm trying to listen. That's a freebie. Ask them would they come back.
Would they come back? And I don't think enough companies, I don't think enough companies ask that question in the exit interview.
They don't want to know.
They don't want to know because they know that you fought to get out of there. They
Look,
know that you run, that you
look,
run, and you
listen.
are out.
If you live and you work somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and you feel courageous enough,
Mm-hmm.
ask your team would they come back. Do it. You can do it anonymously. Ask them would they come back. Oh, I'm telling you something. I'm
That
telling you
is one
something.
survey. That's a one survey question that you can ask. That'll tell you everything you need to know about your culture.
That would tell you everything you need to know. Every single thing you need to know.
Everything you need to know about your culture. That's y'all's homework to all the
Yeah.
leaders. Ask your people. If you're on here retired and you got children, ask your kids, would you come back? I was saying that for my mama.
Jim
Ask
said,
people, will they come back? Because that tells you everything you need to know about the culture that you have created.
"Yep, Jim."
That you have created. That you have created. Yeah, mama laugh. Yeah, ask them if they will come back. That's it. Ask them if they'll come back because that is going to let you know what type of culture you've created. If people feel that they were treated like human beings when they were in your care.
Listen.
When they were in your care, because remember, as a leader, now you don't want to accept that you were a leader, fine, but remember that the people under you are in your team. They are in your care.
Look, I write about it in the book. I ran into a former team member of mine, and we were just giggling and laughing and talking, and I just, Sly basically said, hey, you loved working for me. I know you would come back, and she basically said no, like nah, I wouldn't come back.
Oh wow.
And that was the beginning for me. That was the beginning for me. The beginning for me was when somebody who I liked, who had worked for me, who I just saw in, I saw him it was a department store. And she basically said, no, I wouldn't come back and work for you. And she said it laughing, but she was serious.
She was serious.
It was a blow.
Well, wait a minute though, too, Glenn. Let me just say, put this disclaimer out there too. Now, you can separate yourself from the company because a lot of people will hear that and say, but she talking about the company, not me. But remember, you were the person that had a direct impact on that person.
Yeah. Look, I mean, listen, are there extenuating circumstances? Yeah, always. But no, she was talking about me. All right. And listen, and look,
Thank
you
you
know
for sharing all of that, though, Glenn. Thank you so much for sharing. You've been quite vulnerable tonight.
Yeah, listen, she knew, I knew she was talking about me. She knew she was talking about me. I mean, listen, it was, and whoever's listening, who they're talking about. Listen, I get it that people. Listen, I get it that people get really hesitant and want to kind of mute the noise when they hear us talking about leading from the heart. I know they get hesitant because I understand that after you've been living for 40 and 50 years and after you've been doing something for 20 and 30 years, the way you've done it, the way you've always done it. And that's probably, you feel like that's the way I'm always do it. Like there's no need to change at this juncture. But there's a greater responsibility to be a leader. There's a greater responsibility as someone in the care and service of others. If you're still checking into the game, if you're still raising your hand and choosing to, tap me in, boss, like bring me on in, let me lead teams. If you're still selecting and making that choice, then your responsibility is not wavered. Your responsibility is still at a very high level, that you are responsible to ask yourself a question. Am I leading a team in the right manner? Am I doing my job in the fashion that it was actually meant to be in?
Right.
Regardless if I've done it differently for the past 2 decades or 3 decades. The question that remains to be asked is that, am I showing up in the manner in which I'm supposed to? And if you understand clearly that you are an exclusion leader, meaning
Mm-hmm.
meaning you only want the good stuff, the good pieces, you don't want the you don't want the yellow and the orange
Right.
starburst. You want the red and the pink. You
You
want
right. Look, you done pulled the whole pack apart
you
and then
never
pulled all out.
you want the the good pieces, right? You don't want the other
Right.
pieces,
And
but
then
you
go
don't
give
understand.
everybody else the lemon.
You don't understand that though they may make a starburst with all the pink pieces, that's just rare. Sometimes they just do that just for gimmicks.
Right.
Typically, the starburst pack is full of different colored pieces, and you have to understand that. Look, leadership is not signing up for the good stuff. Leadership is signing up for all the stuff. And all the stuff is what matters. All the stuff is what drives teams to be great. All the stuff is how you serve customers better. You're serving imperfect people. You're making widgets and services for imperfect people. Why are you trying to have a perfect team? It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
We are all imperfect. The goal is to take all of our imperfections and acknowledge them and illuminate the goodness in all of us as we serve others. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to grow your business, whatever you do, you can sell shoes, you can sell phones, you can be a CEO of a Fortune 100. It doesn't really matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to grow your business, if you want to excel in business, then you become a leader of emotion and behavior. You
Mm.
become someone who's invested in the care and compassion and love of people.
Mm.
It's natural. It's the most natural thing you can do.
Mm.
The reason why leadership is hard is because so many people are doing it incorrectly.
Ah.
That's why it's so hard. It's not natural.
Right. And ooh, guess what? We're gonna wrap up right there. No, yeah, drop the mic. Like honestly, bottom line. Honestly, bottom line, we're gonna drop the mic right there because I think that everybody, not just here, but I think that everybody need to take the time to think about that. Would people come back to you? Am
Yeah.
I doing it correctly? Why is it so hard for me to lead? And that's it, folks. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Y'all were on fire tonight. Everybody was on fire tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you
shout
so
out to
much.
Mama Diggins and Jim.
Yes.
Appreciate you joining us, and
Thank
Jay and
you,
Mars.
everybody. Yes.
Yeah, I think I
We
missed
got
some.
some new faces. We've got some new commentators tonight. I'm loving it. I like when we get, I love when our people, our regulars come back. Those are, you all are family. And now I love when we get new family in as well. Come on in the room every Tuesday night at 6:30. Glenn and I are here, or Glenn or I are here, whatever. But we're both here, and we are here to. Glenn and I are trying to change people globally. We're trying to change people globally. We're not just trying to change individuals, we're trying to change cultures. We're trying to change communities. We're trying to make global changes. So come on out next week. Bring a friend. Tell everybody about us. Let's all do this together. Let's hold hands.
Yep, let's get emotion back into work, folks. Let's do it. I appreciate everybody joining in for sure. Looking
Love
forward to
y'all.
next week. Uh, love it, love it, love it.
Thank you. Who
Appreciate
is
you,
this
Mars.
Facebook user that said not
Appreciate you,
trying? Y'all, you are.
Mars. Appreciate you, Mars, bro. and
Thank you. Oh,
everybody
that's
else.
Morris. Thank you, Morris.
Yep,
Thank you,
yep.
guys.
Thanks so much, man. We love you guys.
We love y'all. Peace. See you next week.